Each of the following questions will allow an answer of up to 2 minutes from each of you. What do you see are the most important responsibilities of the county clerk that you can explain to their audience, and how will you prioritize them if you are elected? Scott.
Well, actually, and it depends on the year. Some years there'll be multiple elections, and elections will be the primary duty of the county clerk. In other years, the day-to-day function of the county clerk has a lot to do with the meeting agendas, the minutes, marriage licenses. There's a lot of things the county clerk does. But I think the most important thing that you can take away from this election is we have to push back on this voter ID bill. We cannot allow the Republicans in the State House to turn this state red. That is their goal. And what we need to do is fight to make sure everyone who can be registered in this county is registered. So that, for me, that'll be the primary duty of the first 4 years of this office is to make sure everyone who can vote votes. So for example, right now we have 3,000 people come through this county clerk's office and gets their marriage license each year. We should be making sure when they're changing their name that they have their voter registration filled out and they do it right there. Right now we don't do that. There are other opportunities to say, take the data from the Department of Motor Vehicles, cross that with the voter data from the Government Accountability Board, and see who voted but who doesn't have a driver's license. You'll see that right now that's been stayed in court, but that is going to come back. We need to have outreach to those people. We need to make sure that we help them vote. That's going to take resources, something that I can do as county board chair. That's going to be critical. So for me, the #1 duty is going to be get everyone who can vote registered.
I think hands down the most important duties of the office are election administration. Every year is a multiple election year. There are at least 2 every year. And making sure that we have professionally run, clean, transparent, accountable elections is hands down the single most important function of the county clerk. I've been doing outreach to the community professionally. I've been out registering voters, working closely with Edgewood and UW-Madison to make sure that students are able to vote. I've been fighting the ID law since before it was created, and was part of an excellent effort on the part of the City of Madison to do extensive voter education and outreach. I'm very proud that our municipal clerk's office has done more than 800 outreach sessions since last fall when the voter ID law was first put in. I would love to use DOT data and compare it to the election rolls. If that wasn't a violation of federal privacy laws, it would be a great idea. I think it's very, very important that we creatively go forward and work with our local clerks, but with our community centers, our schools and colleges. I think we get out there, get as many people registered to vote, fight the voter ID law, and come up with creative solutions to how we can do training of election officials, what we can do to make sure that every right under the statute is enacted, and that we can also be strong advocates at the Capitol to roll back the legislation that is currently taking away tools out of our toolbox that allow us to help our voters. I'm the only candidate, for instance, in this race who has successfully sent absentee ballots to and from Antarctica, and with the loss of email voting for non-military voters, that becomes a lot more difficult, and I want to change that back.
Thank you. I think that I'm probably going to repeat some of the candidates' response, because I am too concerned about not only fair elections, but also voter ID as well. I mentioned earlier here that there was some obstacles that some of the community had to face, and now we're adding more. The Act 23, which is that voter ID, I think that is just another obstacle for people that cannot vote or don't have an opportunity to vote, and I think that's shameful. We need to work very hard to not allow this to move forward. The other is the elections that we have. I think the elections here that needs to be, as I mentioned earlier, fair and transparent. That is something that we need to go out in the community, besides working in the office, to actually do the education here for our community, as well as the local election clerks and the special voting deputies. I mean, we need to continue doing that education as much as we can. as well as doing the resource or having some resources online that people can have access to as well. So that I agree that we should move forward with that and have some type of plan of action for the clerk to move forward, and as well as do some legislation work. And I'm sure that my colleagues here will agree that they have done that as well, and we need to continue doing that. Thank you.
Okay. Well, the county clerk is a very important link in the election administration process. Works very closely with the local municipalities, and as the local municipalities look to the county clerk for training and input on legislative, the county clerk does not make legislation. The county clerk needs to work with other entities, including the clerks of the municipalities, large and small, and also with other county clerks across the state, and with the County Clerks Association as well as the Clerks Association. And it has to be a give and take. There's a lot of different sizes of municipalities across the state that we have to have legislation that works for everyone, which is very difficult. We also have to focus on the election machines. Our machines we currently use are over 20 years old. We are waiting for more machines to be certified and to see where they fall in the process, how expensive they're going to be. So it's going to be working a lot with the budget. Even though next year is an off year, it's going to be a very busy year. There's no such thing as a quiet year when it comes to elections. We saw that last year when we had the recount that lasted for months. So I think the county clerk has to work very closely with municipalities and training the clerks, training the election officials. It's not always a 8 to 4 o'clock job or 8 to 4:30. Some of that training needs to be done on nights and weekends in order to hit everyone, because these are volunteers. They don't get paid, many of them, and a lot of the clerks are only part-time. They have to take time off of their other jobs in order to seek training. So if you want transparency and integrity in election, you have to train your election officials, including the clerks, and you have to come to their terms and into their area with what is conducive to their environment. And also with, as far as email voting, I also email ballots all over the world, including to Russia and other various countries, and that was a very vital link and very expensive for municipalities that we now have to mail those ballots. So I think as a county clerk, you don't make legislation, but you have to work with a lot of different entities, as I have through the Clerks Association and as a clerk of Dane County for so many years, to get the respectable legislators so they do listen to and do what's in the best interest of the voters and the municipality.